So my question, I've been reading your book on wokeism, and I watched the video of Ted Cruz and Tucker Carlson. And I think as a threat to America, I think the biggest threat isn't so much Democrats, but RINOs, fake Republicans. Um, what's your opinion on how we handle the RINOs, and what's also your opinion of the video, if you've seen it, of Ted Cruz and Tucker Carlson?
Yeah, so I'll answer the Ted and Tucker one. So I think we commented on this on Thought Crime. I'm friends with both of them. I'm very careful to ever shoot inside the tent, unless it's Lindsey Graham and James Lankford or John Bolton or Liz Cheney. That's a whole different threshold when they're just not with us. But I'm very careful, especially where Ted is with us on almost every issue, right? Ted is with us on the border. He's with us on abortion. He's with us with guns. He's with us on the Constitution. I will say, if you listen to the long form discussion between Ted Cruz and Tucker, I think Ted did a better job of representing his position than some of the clips would have necessarily portrayed him as. Now, Tucker got at very important points, however. Anytime we're considering war, we should know a lot about what we are doing. Not just like, oh, I don't study population tables. Senator Cruz, I've known you for a while. You should know that. You should know it's 92 million people. You should know the intricacies of the Persian people. You're a U.S. Senator calling for regime change. That's not a gotcha question. We have put you there to know a lot about stuff, especially basic stuff about countries that you talk a lot about. And but I will say, though, that when Ted Cruz was using a biblical basis for backing Israel, he did not do the best possible job. And again, I am very close to a lot in the dispensational world. Jack Hibbs, for example, who's a dear friend and mentor of mine, James Cadiz. I am far from a theologian. I know the theology, let's just say, minimally well at best. I could be conversant about it. But even I know Genesis 12:3, and I know the context about it. An even better argument would have been Ezekiel 36, 37, 38, which prophesies about how Jews are scattered all across the world and they will be reconstituted back into a nation. A better argument to be made would have been about the land rights given to Israel and the eternal promise given to Israel. And kind of, in my opinion, kind of clumsily walking around, not even knowing Genesis 12:3 was not the best presentation of what even Ted Cruz was trying to say. Now, I will say this as I am more in Tucker's camp when it comes to foreign policy, without a shadow of a doubt. And I'm probably more in Ted Cruz's camp when it comes from a theological perspective. And so I try to create a third way, which is I'm friends with both. And the third way is that I do believe that we as Christians have some, and to what extent that is, some obligation to bless Israel, and we have an obligation to, God's chosen people. But also there's an argument to be made that in Galatians 3:16, we as Christians are also the new Israel. And so I think that there is a third way outside of just the yelling at each other on this issue, which is that we should always serve America and America first, and our obligation is to America, but understand some of these theological issues as well. So what all that to say, as you know on this program, I'm very war weary. I think our intel agencies have led us astray the last 20 years. I think Iraq was a disaster. I think Libya was a disaster. I think Syria was a disaster. And Afghanistan was a disaster. And what was very interesting is that President Trump, he pioneered a third way. He's not an isolationist. He's not an interventionist. And that third way is one of prudence, decisive, quick, violent action, and no permanent war. To your other question, you asked about what do we do to keep our RINOs accountable. That's one of the reasons why I'm actually staying an extra day in Kentucky on Monday. If anyone listening to this right now lives in the great state of Kentucky, I am doing an event with Nate Morris. We had Nate on this program. Nate is a business guy. He is not a neocon. He is running against the McConnell mafia. He is the only Senate candidate who is outwardly and vocally running up against the McConnell mafia for that open Senate seat. And so I'm doing an event with Nate Morris because I think it's important that we lend our voice and our activism and our platform to try and change the U.S. Senate for the better. It is by far the most broken institution. The House is broken, but the Senate is far more broken. And in my personal opinion, I believe that Nate Morris is the best candidate there. And look, people can disagree on that, but we should all agree we need someone who is not part of that McConnell tribe. So if you guys want to come to that event, we're going to post all the details at charliekirk.com. That is charliekirk.com if you want to come see me on Monday in one of the suburbs outside of Louisville.
For full shows, live and on demand, it's Salem News Channel.